So did the Buckeyes and the Packers. They loved Chicago. Here's the good news. You covered. I know it doesn't matter to you, but both the teams covered.
I don't care.
Both the teams covered. I watched the beginning in
made it to the
Northwestern.
Final Four. That's what I care about.
You should have been up 10-0 on Ohio State.
Yeah,
you should have been. Yeah. I mean, that was not the first quarter was a pretty good effort by Northwestern, I thought. I really did. Welcome to PTI, boys and girls. In today's episode, the Steelers edge the Ravens, the Lions crush the Jags, and Jim Harbaugh's Chargers win their fourth straight. But we begin today with the Buffalo Bills knocking Kansas City from their unbeaten perch yesterday, 30-21. The highlight of the team that lost it.
Well, Tony, actually, I think because, winning 9 straight games and not losing a game at all since last Christmas is so notable that I think it's sort of not, I don't want to nitpick Kansas City. I think you honor them by saying, wow, they finally lost, by observing it, by noting it, and looking at why. And if it's a one-off, or are you really a little more nervous about it? And as you and I have talked almost every week, they've had some close games. Like half their games have been nail-biters. 2 or 3 of their games could have gone the other way. And I look at them offensively and just say, wow, are they winning these games because they're champions? Yes. They know how to win, and they are unafraid of close games.
Yep.
But I'm focusing on them a little bit more in Buffalo because I don't believe that offense looks championship worthy. I look at their plus minus, which is, I think, 10th in the NFL right now, and say they're not opening up a margin. The defense has been praised, and rightfully so, most of the season. The offense, as you know, I'm skeptical of. Patrick Mahomes has not had a great season, even though we all still acknowledge he's the best quarterback in the game. We would take him one. If all the players in the league were on a board, we're all taking Mahomes one. All true. But, Tony, if you're an opponent, if you're a team in the AFC, you're thinking to yourself, okay, they may be better, but I'm not scared. I'm not afraid of them. And so I'm looking at Kansas City just wondering if they've opened themselves up.
So I will tell all the people out there that you predicted that Buffalo would win this game. You did it on Thursday and you did it on Friday, and you deserve credit for that. I am focusing more on the Buffalo Bills right now because if I had to vote today, I would vote Josh Allen as MVP. Maybe just because of the last drive. Maybe just because of the last run and the contact he initiated at the goal line, which was something to see.
Impressive.
Josh Allen outdid Patrick Mahomes, and that does not happen very often. Now, I understand it's a regular season game, and Buffalo has won these games before, but not against a 9-0 team, I don't think. The important thing is what they do in the playoffs because they meet a lot, and Buffalo has not been able to beat Kansas City in the playoffs. But to your point, Patrick Mahomes is less accurate this year than he has been in recent years. Josh Allen is not turning the ball over this year as he has in recent years. Josh Allen, I believe, has 18 touchdown passes and only 5 interceptions at this point. I want to get the numbers right. Yesterday, he had 262 yards passing, 55 yards rushing, and 2 touchdowns against a 9-0 team. That feels like a big deal to me. And the other big deal to me is that Patrick Mahomes has been a starter now. This is his 7th year starting at Kansas City. And yes, he's the best football player on the planet. This is only the 5th time, Mike, only the 5th time that his team has lost by more than 1 score.
That's
only
amazing.
The 5th time in all that
It's
time.
amazing.
Wow.
It is.
Yeah.
I'm with you, I think, by the way, on Josh Allen. If I had to vote today, and we're going to get to this in a second because Lamar Jackson didn't have an MVP performance yesterday. So Josh Allen goes ahead of him to me. The Chiefs and Bills, as we've just talked about, shared the marquee with the Ravens and Steelers. In that one, Pittsburgh prevailed 18-16, didn't score a touchdown. But to hear Lamar Jackson put it, the Ravens beat themselves, quote, absolutely, it's been that way ever since last year. We've got to find a way to fix that. That bleep was beat themselves.
No, the headline of this game should be that the Ravens lost. I don't know about them beating themselves. And that's for somebody else to make a judgment on. They lost this particular game. Mike, I've told you this before. I wake up every day and I turn on this network. And every single morning, I find 3 or 4 people say this. And it's for months. Lamar Jackson is the MVP again, and the Baltimore Ravens are going to win the Super Bowl. And I think to myself, really? Why? They now have 4 losses, Mike. They may as well be LSU. Lamar Jackson can't beat Pittsburgh. He's now 1-4 against Pittsburgh with, I believe, 8 interceptions in those games. He was less than 50% passing yesterday against Pittsburgh. He's a great player. He's deserved the MVP stuff that he has gotten. But he's not the MVP against Pittsburgh or Kansas City. Not in the regular season or in the playoffs. In the regular season, he's 2-8. In the playoffs, he's 2-4. That's 4-12. I'm sorry, that's on MVP. Mike, he had a great last drive. A great last drive. He could have tied the game with a 2-point conversion, but they were all over him. And as I say, I wake up every morning, I watch this network. So this morning I watched Rex Ryan say that Derrick Henry wasn't out there on the 2-point conversion. He said that was a gift. That was a gift to Pittsburgh because they know how to defend Lamar Jackson.
Tony, Lamar Jackson is never going to beat Pittsburgh if Todd Monken, his offensive coordinator, keeps taking a pile of stupid pills before every game. If you don't give the ball to Derrick Henry more than 13 times, you're not bright enough. I mean, you're a good football coach. You've ascended to this level, and then you revert to something you did the first 2 games, which you took stupid pills then too. And so you have no fourth quarter carries for Lamar Jackson. For Derrick Henry. You're not down 3 or 4 scores. You don't have to climb back in the game by throwing the ball. You're in an even game, and you're not smart enough to give the ball to that player. You're not smart enough to have him in the game at the end of it on a 2-point conversion. So if you want Lamar Jackson to run it, and I'm fine with that, half your defense is looking at and leaning toward Derrick Henry. Again, Tony, I told you I would have fired this guy 2 games into the season.
I know.
And he reverted. He's reverted to stupid against the Steelers. What in the world are we talking about?
Mike, you know that Tomlin is now 8-1 over Harbaugh in the last 9 games. And that the Steelers, and this is a great little fact, the Steelers are 2-0 this year in games where they have not scored a touchdown. Where they just had field goals. The rest of the NFL in those sorts of games is 2-18. Because as you and I have discussed privately, Pittsburgh gets closer to its potential than any other team in the league. Doesn't mean they're the best team. They get closer to their potential. Let's get to the other big NFL games from yesterday. The Lions crushed the Jaguars 52-6 in the early window. The Seahawks came back, beat the 49ers on a Geno Smith scramble in Wilbon, which was the most significant result.
The Chargers, Tony, the Chargers. And I know Joe Burrow did everything he could to bring that team back. I mean, I left my house and the TV and went to dinner at 27-6. I'm like, And then I was able to watch the game, the rest of it at dinner, but they scored 1 touchdown and were about to score another. And you're like, my goodness, this is amazing. So even though Joe Burrow did that, Tony, it is still that other Harbaugh, Jim, that I look at with the Chargers and say, my God, I'm so jealous that my team, and we'll get to that coach later, did not hire this guy. Because Jim Harbaugh simply knows what he's doing. He knows how to build up his quarterback. He knows how to make those players feel like they're the only people in the world, and he can coach them better than anybody. He does that. They win close. They win everywhere he goes. The Chargers could have lost that game. Historically, the Chargers would have lost that game, but they didn't. And, Tony, I think because largely of Harbaugh, the Chargers may be a threat to Kansas City, Baltimore, Houston, all of them, in January because of him.
So I'm going to discount the Detroit game because they're at home and they're beating a terrible team, Jacksonville, a terrible team without its starting quarterback. So that's like a walkover in a tennis match.
Yes, it is.
The Chargers are better than I thought. I have to admit that. They have more moxie than I thought. But Cincinnati is killing Joe Burrow. They have 7 losses. In those 7 losses, he's averaging 306 yards per game passing. He has 18 touchdowns, only 2 interceptions, and they have 7 losses. Their defense stinks, and they're done. So I find myself focusing on San Francisco because I'm surprised by this. They couldn't stop Geno Smith on the left. They were ahead. They were at home. They couldn't stop Geno Smith. 7 of 8 passing, and I think 29-yard rushing on 2 different plays. They
really
lose
isn't.
a lot of games late and they lose close, Mike. They're not like they were last year and the year before. This is their third divisional loss where they were leading inside the last 2 minutes of the game, Mike. That hasn't happened since the merger. There's something, they're done. To me,
Yeah, they're done.
They're done.
They're almost in cowboy land, almost.
Wow. I'm surprised. Let's take a break. Coming up, Georgia scored a huge win over Tennessee, but was that the biggest result of the college football weekend?
And I told you we'd get to this. Bears head coach Matt Eberflus opens himself up to more criticism after the Packers block a game-winning field goal attempt.
I'm going to read the question in the email, and then I'm going to take a nap as you talk for the entire segment about Matt Eberflus.
This is Pardon-The-Interruption.
Time to find out what's on the minds of the minions in mail time. Let me see what's
Mail
first
time?
here. Here we go.
What do we got?
What was the biggest college football result of the weekend to you?
Tony, you know I was up to my neck in college football this weekend, starting at attending a game at Wrigley Field and then staying up half the night. I watched BYU, which even in Central Time was a game that was incredibly late. And BYU, I mean, I guess, you know, they took themselves out. A school like BYU in a conference like that, they don't get to have 2 or 3 losses like Big Ten and SEC schools like SEC school might and get in. So I watched that, but I'm going to surprise you, Tony. My big result was Oregon winning narrowly at Wisconsin, because I thought Wisconsin was going to and would win that game. I didn't say cover the spread. I know how difficult it is to play at Camp Randall, and a team like Oregon is unfamiliar totally. It's not like a conference school like my own Northwestern, which went up there last year and won. I thought Wisconsin would win that game. Oregon held on. They stay at number 1 legit. I know it was close, but that was a damn tough game to win. So golf clap for Oregon from me.
Oregon has had 2 games like this. One was at home against Ohio State, and then this one at Wisconsin. I mean, those are tough travel things for the West Coast teams that have joined the Big Ten. I think Oregon's gone east 3 different times. I think that's been hard. I think you missed the boat when you said Oregon, because I think what you started with BYU, I think that's the most important thing that happened for precise reason, that this allows the committee now to not have 2 schools from the Big 12.
I know.
Because if BYU doesn't win its title game, they will have 2 losses, and they're going to be out. Now, that title game right now looks like maybe Colorado and BYU. I am sure the committee wants Colorado for television ratings. Colorado is a big draw right now with Deion, but Colorado cannot lose the title game and go in with 3 losses. This has an impact on Georgia. Georgia stayed at 2 losses by beating Tennessee. They're now on the path maybe to get into the SEC title game. I believe that if they lose the SEC title game, if it's a good game, they may still get into the playoffs. I believe that about Alabama and Georgia, and those are the only 2 teams I believe that about. Let's go. Let's move. I'm very geeky about the playoffs. I like it. This is your question. Do you blame Matt Eberflus for the Bears' loss, or do you credit the Packers for blocking the game-winning field goal attempt?
No, this is entirely about Matt Eberflus. And I told you a month ago when they lost in Washington that the Hail Mary was going to cost him his job. He doubles down. He has trouble with the penultimate plays. He thinks that the game is over in 30 seconds to play. You know, call a bootleg. Caleb Williams rushed for 70 yards yesterday. Call a safe pass. You know, a screen, something where he doesn't really have to drop back and have the threat of being sacked. And make it a 35-yard field goal. Tony, here's what all of us knew who watched that game, who followed the Bears. The kick, the 53-yard successful field goal early in the game from Cairo Santos, it was a line drive. Everybody kicks 50 now, and to keep up with the Joneses, he has to kick line drives, all right? And he makes it work. He's one of the best kickers in the league. But I'm sitting there thinking, oh, my God, if this kid has to kick one like this late in the game, it's going to get blocked. If I know that, Matt Eberflus, he doubles down with dumb reasoning after these games, after he goofs up. Tony, the Bears aren't going to fire him now. The Bears have a humanity about them, the Hallis McCaskey family. They're not. I admire that. but at the end of the season, he has to go.
Yeah, I can't talk to Eberflus. He's your account. But I will say this is highly unusual. 2 weeks in a row now, a game has been decided by a block on a field goal attempt. The Chiefs blocked a Denver field goal attempt and escaped with that victory last week. That was 35 yards. This was 46 yards. I think that the special teams guys on the Chiefs and on the Packers ought to get a raise. The special teams guy on the Packers is Rich Bisaccia, right? He should still be coaching the Las Vegas Raiders. He apparently saw something in the film about Chicago, because here's his quote.
A line drive.
I will not understand if we come out of this game without a block either on a field goal or a PAT. So they saw something.
I just told you what he saw.
Email.
He saw line drive kicks that are barely over the lineman from Cairo Santos. We've all seen it all season. That's how he has to make his 50-plus yarders. So no raise. No raise for Bisaccia.
Let's take big raise. Let's take one last break. Still to come. The Giants decide they have seen enough of Danny Dimes.
He's a fine man, it seems. He does a lot of good things as a coach. But he's
today with 18 players on the injury report, as Lisa Salters told you earlier today. So glad you're with us for another hour here on NFL Live. If you missed the first hour, remember we are a 2-hour show on Mondays, but it's okay because you can just stay with us for the rest of the time. Marcus Spears, Mina Kimes, Ryan Clark, Dan Orlovsky. We got a lot to get to, you guys. Let's roll right with the Chiefs and Bills as we get you caught up on everything that happened in Week 11 on Sunday. Comes to a close tonight. Patrick Mahomes and Josh Allen going head-to-head, and we always know this will be fun. We start early in the second. The Bills with the ball. Josh Allen to Amari Cooper for 25 yards.
Unbelievable touch on that throw by Josh Allen. Understands all-out pressure. And how about the catch by Amari Cooper?
How about James Cook cooking, running it in for the 6-yard touchdown?
This play felt like a message to Kansas City's defense by the Buffalo offense and James Cook. We're here.
2 minutes, 53 left in the second. Chiefs in the red zone. Patrick Mahomes to Noah Gray, the 2-yard touchdown. So that means the Chiefs go up 14-13.
Making Kansas City constantly run sideline to sideline.
How would the Chiefs respond with the ball here under 12 to play in the fourth? Kareem Hunt up the middle for 17 yards.
Maybe he should have tried it more.
At the Bills 42. I know that worked pretty well. That's Swag slapping the table. He loves the run game.
Mahomes broken.
Right here hitting Gray in the back of the end zone for the touchdown. Entering Sunday, the Chiefs had the lowest point differential of any 9-0 team in NFL history. Now Kansas City hoping to become the first team since the 2006 Colts to be the NFL's final unbeaten team to win a Super Bowl. According to ESPN Bet, the Chiefs had the second shortest odds to win their third straight title. Here's Patrick Mahomes after the loss.
Yeah, I mean, you can use it as fuel. I mean, like I said, it's a good football team, so nothing to hang your head on. I'm losing to them, but we feel like we can play better. So we'll get back to work and try to use this as a spark so that we can be a better football team in the end. And the undefeated thing was cool, but that's not our ultimate goal. So we'll keep building towards that.
Dan, let's start on the defensive side of things for Kansas City. It's been a really good unit throughout most of the season, but why was it different yesterday?
It's as disconnected a performance under Steve Spagnuolo that I've seen from this Kansas City Chiefs defense. The lack of communication, the being on different pages. They're playing man coverage often, and they do it just about as much as anybody in the NFL. But when Buffalo got into a little bit of a stack bunch concept or a little bit of emotion, even though teams have thrown this against Kansas City multiple times, they were just on different pages. And the, oh my gosh, panic moments I felt by the defense, like, oh, we're trailing guys or we're not passing things off. I haven't seen that from a Spags-led unit, and it made, I don't want to say it easy on Josh Allen and Buffalo because I want to credit them for the way that they got into those. But I don't think that version of the Chiefs defense was the one that we've seen through the great majority of Spags' career there, and certainly the past couple years.
Well, it's felt like for the last few years, Spags can just keep incorporating anyone, any young corner, anyone in the draft, no matter how late they take them, and nothing seems to change. This was the first time where I felt like, ooh, the attrition is kind of hitting them on the back end. I hate to single him out, but Jalen Watson goes out, Najee Johnson comes in outside. Those two deep balls to Amari Cooper, both of them, he is asking him to press him at the line of scrimmage, and one of them they sent an all-out blitz. That's a tough matchup for a young cornerback against Amari Cooper. And to his credit, it wasn't even bad coverage. It was just great throws and catches. But this defense, asks so much out of its corners. They press at a higher rate.
Don't you think
there's so much communication and disguise on the back end? And it feels like they're so young.
If I was an offense moving forward, playing Kansas City in the future, I'm now going to, in many ways, copy this stuff. Okay, we're going to get in stacks and bunches.
The man beaters.
We're going to change the picture on the defense, force them to communicate, all that stuff, and then we're going to take our shots at them because they're not all McDuffie.
Right.
And I think that's the thing that Kansas City's got to watch.
The other thing is, too, though, I feel like they're moving more and more into single high man this year than we've seen in other years. Where last year, even with L'Jarius Sneed, as good as he was, it was a ton of split safety looks.
Where were the issues on the offensive side of the ball, though?
They can't block. Like, just offensively protecting Patrick Mahomes. You go back early in the game, I think, what was it, the third play, we have an interception, but there was pressure the entire day. And I did love what Sean McDermott did defensively by mixing up some of the looks you saw on the front. Sometimes it was a 4-man rush with the spy. We saw a 3-man rush with the spy where Bernard adds late. They were constantly throwing different things at the Kansas City Chiefs offensive line until the attrition took place, and now we saw them winning ones-on-ones outside like you saw with Von Miller. It was a masterful plan up front, but I thought the execution was next level.
Yeah. Guys, I haven't been at this point in a long time. The Kansas City Chiefs need to be a run-first football team right now. And when you think about all of the big games that we watched them play, the run game has asserted itself in a major way in these Super Bowls, in these AFC championships, and winning championships. Kareem Hunt had 14 carries, right? And nobody bats an eye. Kareem Hunt should have had 20, 25 carries. You talked about defensively the plan that Buffalo put together. You know what kills a defensive plan? When you gut them. They got to change something they're doing. Pat is making a lot of uncharacteristic mistakes as well. Take some pressure off of him. You know on the outside, you got D-Hop, and you added him to the mix. Worthy is a rookie wide receiver. You got Travis Kelce. Right now, I feel like Andy Reid and this offensive staff is a little bit drunk on Pat Mahomes' name as opposed to doing what they do physicality-wise up
Here's
front.
the challenge with that is if you run it on first and get a yard or two, and you want to be disciplined to run it on second, and you only get a yard or two, now you're in the one place Kansas City you cannot be in.
But then
obvious pass situations with that left tackle.
But I also feel like this, based on what you said, right? We are playing horrible offensively right now. They are not good at passing the football.
I disagree with that.
Let me tell you why I think the Kansas City Chiefs lost the game against the Buffalo Bills. They got a beat on them offensively, right? Pat Mahomes made Pat Mahomes plays as to why this game was like this. If you look at the majority of this game, it was a lot of keeping him in the pocket. They wanted Patrick Mahomes to throw the football. That's what the Buffalo Bills wanted him to do.
I'll give you this. Like, I think Buffalo multiple times we're playing man coverage, and we can strap you up.
Now, in what world did we think that would ever happen against the Kansas City Chiefs?
I get that.
In a world where they don't have people that's going to get open consistently and constantly. And honestly, think about Xavier Worthy going back to the Monday Night Football game. He stepped out of bounds 2 times on deep balls, and he's been missed twice
as well. He was so good in the beginning of the game, and then they went
I'm telling y'all, this needs to be a running football team and allow Pat to play action.
All right, Pat Mahomes was pressured on 46% of his dropbacks, his highest in a game since